Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. I hope that you've managed to buy at least one of the wines that we'll be tasting this evening, if not all three of them. I have to say that I'm apologizing in advance for any technical issues, internet related. I do apologize, and we'll try to fix them as soon as possible. If you are interested in purchasing any of the wines after this tasting, we'll post them up in the chat, or they'll be on our Facebook page tomorrow. So let's get started. This evening, I'm joined with Jan from Leitz in Germany. He's very kindly stayed in the winery this evening for a virtual tour, which is very exciting and very cool. So I'm going to hand over to him to start. Thank you for joining us, Jan.
Thank you for having me. So it's a pleasure.
Great. All right. So where are you sitting now? Shall we start with the virtual tour?
Yeah, we can. So I'm located here directly in the cellar. So this is, I can show you a little around. So this is actually the cellar where I'm standing at. And it's one of a more modern cellar that we have here because it has been built in 2010. The winery where I'm working at is Weingut Leitz, and it has been founded by Johannes Leitz in 1985. So it's quite a very young winery. The family is doing wine since 1744, but it's not recorded in the way that we are taking care of it. So the modern business or the modern estate that we have is located here in our region at this place, as I said, since 2010. So it's a very modern winery. We have actually no real cellar under the ground. We just have everything on the ground, and the tanks that you can see in the back are standing here. Yeah, I just thought it might be very interesting to give you an impression where everything starts. So we were talking about the vineyards. And the vineyards are very far away, so I can't show you them today. But I want to show you the press which we are using. One of them. This is a so-called 150-ton press. Wow. And so this is a very huge press system. And so we are using this. We are able to press with 3 of them, a very high capacity of grapes. When we started in 1985, we had a very small plantation of about 2.5 hectares, maybe in total 4 vineyards. Now we are working let's say, over 600 vineyards. And we are the biggest family-owned winery in the Rheingau region. And we are one of the most export-driven wineries also in this region here. So the cellar where I'm standing at is one of, in total, 3 cellars we have. This is the main cellar where also the bottling line is standing, and also the wines for the bottling are prepared. So I will show you a lot of things tonight. And when you have questions, just do the chat function and just let us know, and I will do my best to respond.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jan, just to give the customers an idea on sort of the capacity of how much a 150-ton press is, how long, once you've filled the press, how long does that take until the press is finished? It's a good 2 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it depends on the quality, on the constitution of the grapes, and also it's very important which goal you have. So we don't want to press too intense with a high pressure. We take more time. We give the press more time to press very gentle. We are using different press fractions, and we have the free run juice that we are using very, very early. We sometimes have presses that we keep standing overnight. We have the mash standing in the press overnight, which is very beneficial for the higher qualities. And so it's all in all, you can say it depends everything on the grape material that you are harvesting. And it's very important for us as well that all the presses are refrigerated. So this is very helpful, because when we are having a year like 2018 and it was very warm, we started very, very early in the morning to harvest the grapes, so around 3 in the morning, because it was cool, and we needed to have these cool temperatures in the mash and in the grapes, just to make sure that the must will be pressed in the best way, and we keep these cool temperatures also in the grapes and the must, that we can treat the must and the presses cooled at cool temperatures, because we are not damaging the aroma structure of the must. So this was really, really important for me. The idea for tonight is, I just wanted to show you the way of the must coming into the tanks, and we are working very reductive here in the winery. So the winery itself has all these tanks are temperature controlled. So you see these tanks are temperature controlled, and we have a very smart control panel. I can show you. I go now to the Cellar Master's office, and you see this is our panel where we have every tank that we can control the temperature on, and it's very, very good to have that, because in warm years we don't want to have the fermentation going too fast. So we can control temperature in the tanks, and the fermentation is very, very slow. So we don't need so much sulfur. It's also very, very intense, and very, very good for the quality of the wines. And yeah, we are really proud of that, because the wines that we are producing are not having high sulfur contents, and yeah, that's why we don't have so much headache. That's great, yeah. So yeah, on the tour we can do through the cellar. I said these tanks we are using for the sedimentation of must. And if it's getting too technical, please tell me also that it's getting too technical. Sedimentation is when you are having the cloudy must that is running from the press. You are giving this, you're bringing this must into the tanks. Then you are adding so-called bentonite. It's a special kind of earth that helps a lot to get the cloudy particles down. So when you have this must standing in the tanks for, let's say, 8 hours, it's almost clear. So you can rack the clear must from the tank, and then this clear must starts to ferment with yeast. And this is a very easy system. It's very, very good system to work on the must, because the must is very, very important. It's almost the second, or the most important part of the winemaking process starts in the wines. But then the second part is when the fresh must comes into the tanks or in the casks. So this is very important that you treat it in the best way, because you can damage something very early in this phase. When the fermentation has been finished, so it's a very, very fast lineup I have here, we have to prepare these young wines for the bottling process. And the bottling process starts with filtration. So we are using one of the most modern filtration systems that you can get. It's a so-called cross-flow filtration system. It's unfortunately running right now, so my plan was to start here in front of the filter. So maybe I can stand here and can talk a little bit of the filter system. I don't know if the sound is really good. If it's too loud, just give me a signal, and I will move a little bit back and forth.
You sound great. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, the filter is running here in the winery. We are using this filtration system since 2014. The filter is running now for 1.5 hours. So the guys are doing the filtration with one of these 20,000 liter tanks you can see in the back of me, because we have very intense bottling weeks. So at the moment, the demand for wines, especially for Riesling, is really, really huge. So luckily, again, knock on wood.
Yes, yeah.
I just have the steel tanks here. Yeah.
I've got it. Wooden table okay. Here.
Do that for me, please. So no, the demand is really good for Riesling, and especially also the Pinot Noir Rosé, which we are doing. And so the guys, our cellar team, is very busy here with bottling. Today was the day that they bottled a lot of larger formats. So I want to show you this later. But just to explain the filtration system here again, is that you can see these two pipes here. Oh, yes, these two pipes. And This is a so-called membrane filtration, and we have a very low pressure level in this filtration system. This helps us a lot to treat the must and the young wine very, very nicely, and it's very good for the aroma. We don't have any oxygen coming in this filtration system. We are running this filtration system with a so-called inert gas. It's called argon. Yes, the argon. And then we do the racking of the young wines is made directly to the filtration system, so there is no step in between. And after that, when the wine is clear, it will go to the tank, which is dedicated to be the bottling tank. So in our winery here, we are working very close and very short ways. So this is just 5 meters away from the filter. You can see our bottling line. So I can show you the bottling. I apologize for this mess standing here around. So you see the corks and the capsules standing here around. Then you see there's the larger format, the empty bottles, they are standing here. So everything is set up for tomorrow. And this is our so-called bottling line. So when the bottling line is running, I'm not allowed to go in here. So at the moment, yeah, it's a protected area because we are certified with the International Featured Standard Food 6.1. So wow. This is a very, very extreme standard, and it's very, very good because it gives us on the one hand side protection, and for our customers it's really good because we know exactly where the points or the areas are which we have to protect very, very intensely, just to prevent that there is an error with the wine or there is something coming into the wine. And we have to make sure that there's no glass particles in the bottle, for example, or so everything is documented, and we have so-called different hygienic zones here. And actually, this is the hygienic zone number 1. So priority is the highest priority here, because here everything comes together. So on the one hand side, everything what we are producing in these tanks. Then we have everything what comes from outside, like the new bottles and also the bigger bottles. Then we have the corks and the screw caps, which are located here. So everything comes together, and this is something that is really difficult to handle. On the one hand side, we need to make sure that everything is in the best condition. And then when you see, for example, the empty bottles that are standing here on the conveyor, they are running into the bottling line. Then they will be rinsed with a ozone. We don't want to have sulfur. Very, very often they are using sulfur to bottle wine. And the sulfur is cleaning the bottle in advance, but we don't want to have that. So we are using ozone. And so we are bottling here throughout the year, almost every week, at least 3 days a week.
And so the what you're using instead of sulfur, is that more of a modern technique? Is that sort of like a modern take on it?
Yeah, we are very happy to have this possibility to use ozone, because ozone is natural, and okay, right. Sulfur is also natural, but it's not as strange. It's not an allergen, you know.
Right.
So you have the sulfur is getting, some people are very, very
sensitive to it.
Sensitive, thank you.
Yeah.
Sensitive to sulfur, and so we don't want to have the sulfur, because also the sulfur from the bottle, which is cleaned with sulfur, is increasing the content of sulfur in the wine, which is bottled in. So that's why we don't want to have such high sulfur contents. On the one hand side, we don't use so much sulfur because also the wines, they should taste like, if the wine is 5 years old, it should taste like a 5-year-old wine. And we don't want to have wines that are tasting after 10 years, like the first day in the bottle. So that's why it's also, for us, it's kind of a philosophy. When we are talking about philosophy, I don't actually know if we have a real philosophy, but yeah, for us, it's really important to get the wines into the bottle in the best shape. So we don't want to use this.
And of course, Riesling is a white grape variety which ages so well.
Yes.
So you want it to be able to show its potential with its aging.
Yeah, actually, this is the reason why we are bottling these larger formats. So because also the magnums or double magnums, which we are bottling, we are starting with our entry levels. Even our entry levels are bottled in magnums and double magnums, and this is why we are so amazed by that. Because Riesling, you said it, has a very high potential to get a very nice maturity. And we had a few years ago, we had a 2009 double magnum opened, and we were starting to cry after we've tasted the first sip of the glass because it was not ready. And this
no!
Yeah, it was not ready. It was very good at this moment, but you could imagine where it will be, or where it could have been 10 years later.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, this is something like a very nice it's kind of it's art. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can show you the some of these bottles that are at the moment standing in a metal box, because the cork has to you see these larger bottles here, so the cork has to get a little bit more thicker again, and then these bottles, we will store them in our treasury. And so I don't know when we start selling them, but they are normally dedicated, or we plan for these wines that they stay at least 5 to 10 years in our treasury until we sell them. So
that's amazing. It's nice. I like it when wineries hold on to wines and then release it when it should be drunk.
Yes,
it's nice.
This is getting actually. I have to mention it. I had a bottle standing of alcohol-free sparkling wine. I had a bottle standing, yeah, in the fridge, and there were some people coming to the winery. They wanted to taste wine, and I showed them a normal alcohol-free wine, and then the alcohol-free sparkling wine. I didn't check the label in advance, so they told me, "Oh, this sparkling wine tastes a little bit strange, but it's not bad. But it's different to the first one." I couldn't explain why they said something like that. So I tasted this wine when they left, and I was totally shocked in a positive way, because this wine has made also in development, a very positive development, but much faster. So it was just, I think, a few months over the best before date.
Right.
But it was developed in a very positive way. So I was thinking that I could drink it the whole day in the office. So but
blind tasting with all your colleagues.
yeah, but I didn't do. So this is really nice when you see that Riesling has so many possibilities on the one hand side, and it's a very positive character of Riesling, because Riesling is not only can be dry, can be off dry, can be sweet. You can have a young Riesling, you have a mature Riesling. This is very interesting. And Riesling is getting also more and more intense as a blending partner. You find very often here in Germany also that Riesling is blended with Pinot Blanc, for example, or Chardonnay. And this is very interesting what you can do. And as I said earlier, it's getting warmer also here in our region. So also the Riesling is changing. The style of Riesling is changing. And years ago, maybe 30 years ago, the Rieslings from this area, they were like, you had the idea of, okay, very intense acidity, and they are only sweet, and the wines have to be sweet to cover the acidity. Right now, when we are talking about wines that are in balance, these wines normally have 5 grams of residual sugar. The acidity is not as harsh as it was 20 years ago. So they are getting softer and more complex. So for me, Riesling is one of the big winners of the global warming here in our region. In other regions, it could be a big threat for the Riesling because of the acidity, which could be very low. We do have also wines in our portfolio which have a very low acidity, but this is something that we decided to do by so-called malolactic fermentation. But yeah, the heat is something that is giving us high alcohol and sometimes very low acidity. So this is something that I wanted to show you. On the one hand side, we have made a little tour through our winery. I can show you more details of the winery if you want, but on the other hand side, I thought maybe we can talk about the other things we wanted to talk about.
Perfect.
Okay.
So So you mentioned that the winery was founded in 2010, and you went from, did you say 2 hectares, which you started with?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
600, did you say?
Yes, we are having at the moment 130 hectares that we are working on. We started at 2, and now it's 130, and we had 4 vineyards in 1985, and now it's more than 600. So
wow.
we are. It's totally. I'm also shocked a little bit, but positive, because when I started
very
here,
positive.
Yeah, when I started here 8 years ago, we had just 60 hectares. Now it's more than double that. So it's totally crazy what's going on, and I'm really happy that I can be part of that. So you can see there's a lot of things going on, and then the wine world is also changing. And
and it's great to see that's a reflection of how popular Riesling is going. You know, it's going from strength to strength, and as you mentioned, it's, you know, it's not only being drank as a single varietal, it's being blended into other things, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I was one of the lucky guys that had the chance to be on a tour in early January, and in February we did a tour through the whole UK, and this was really, really good, because actually it was again very positive to get these comments from the people that they say, wow, I can't believe that it's Riesling. And this was, and I have to mention, there was one of the most funny stories I've experienced in the UK, that it was actually at the Laithwaite event that I had in Bracknell, I think.
Yes,
And there was a like a public tasting we had with some customers, and then there was a lady coming to our stand, and she asked, "What do you have here?" So I had at this time 6 or 7 bottles of Riesling standing on my desk, and she said, "Yeah." I said, "It's Riesling," and she said, "Oh, okay, Riesling. It's not my preference number 1." And I said, "Okay, maybe you can just give me a try." And then she said, "Where is it from?" And I said, "Yeah, it's from Germany." And she said, "Oh no, I have to walk away. It's not very." So, but she tasted one wine, and then she said, "Okay, what's next?" And then we tasted all of them. And then she came around the stand, she hugged me, and she said, "You made my day." So it was very, very, very good. And I was very, very amazed by that, because this is really showing what's going on with the characteristic and the style of Riesling.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, and we are having different styles here. So we have a dry Riesling like the Boar. We have a little more off-dry version like the Kirchenpfad, the Kabinett you have. We do have sweet Riesling, but we see and we feel that the demand for very sweet Riesling is decreasing.
Right.
And when I said I started here 8 years ago, and at that time we had a very, very strong market for off-dry Rieslings in the US, and we also sold slightly or decent amounts of Spätlese styles, sweet Spätlese styles, in Germany, in the UK, and also in the US. But since the last 3 years, I think this has changed dramatically, because the amount of sweet wines has decreased very, very intensely, and we are not producing anymore these quantities we have produced 5 years ago. So the demand for these dry wines from our production is growing and growing. Yeah, and this is very good, because very often we say the less sugar, the more truth you have in the bottle.
Very true. As we're talking about the wines, shall we start tasting them?
Yeah, sure. I have prepared this in a very special way, because it's not as nice as in your home, but
oh, that's nice.
It's my little tasting desk here. So, but it looks very good when you see the humidity in our cellar is very, very high. So they are very fresh. So I think we should start with a alcohol-free wine.
Yes. So for everyone watching at home, this is called the Boar No More. It's an alcohol-free Riesling.
Yeah.
So as we're just about to start tasting the wines, these two are a private label which Leitz do specially for us, And the label is actually one of my favorites. I don't know if you can see it. And it all came from a conversation when I was with Jan at the winery. And we were standing in one of the vineyards, right up at the top. It was on quite a steep slope. And I saw it was just coming into harvest, I think. And I saw there was just some little eaten bunches of grapes on the floor. And I said to Jan, I said, "Oh, what's been stealing your grapes?" And he said to me, "Kirsten, every vineyard around the world will have a thief. And in our vineyards, it's the wild boar." And I thought, well, that's such a I really liked the idea of the winemakers having to battle with the boar to get all the best grapes in. And I thought, well, that's just a perfect label. And I just loved the story. And so that's how we came up with this, which I really love, because you've got all the little footprints at the bottom of where they've been running around the vineyards nicking all the best grapes.
Actually,
until they figured out how to deter them, really.
Yeah, no, this is something that is really true, because we have to fight of each grape, you know. They are really hungry. They are really hungry, and it's very, very funny when you see that the eldest boar is always the first in the row, and then in the morning when when normally the day starts and the workers coming into the wines, there's only the little wild boar running around, the baby wild boar, and then they can have the leftovers, you know. So for us, normally we should sleep in the wines. So yeah, but they know exactly what they are seeking for. So
yes.
We have the liquid, and yeah, but this is a very nice example of alcohol-free Riesling. We don't do any vintages anymore on the Rieslings, of the alcohol-free Rieslings, because we have a very, very huge benefit for the alcohol-free wines, because we can blend 2 different vintages. So we can have positive effects of one, and we can blend in the positive effects of the other vintage. So we are always taking good care of that we want to achieve the best quality in the class. And as I said, we don't want to have just a product. We are really taking good care of the base wines for the alcohol-free as well. So for us, the alcohol-free production starts in the vineyard. And very often you will find alcohol-free wines where the story starts with bulk wine. So we are not interested in doing something like this. So we are we saw a real grape coming to the press, and just using this really nice base wines. We have to treat these base wines a little bit different, because they need to have a little more acidity, because we are adding later a little bit of grape juice, because alcohol is missing. So we need to have a little more grape juice. Alcohol is one of the most important carriers of taste. And when this is missing, normally the wines or the alcohol-free wines would taste like cardboard. So we are adding a little bit of grape juice, which is giving these wines a little bit of the normal or natural aroma back. And that's why it's also very, very difficult to get the best balance in these wines. But I see here with the Boar No More, it's a really nice example for a really nice Riesling, alcohol free.
And again, you've managed to keep the same aromatics, which is also quite difficult, isn't it? You know, it's maintained that really nice floral aromatic.
Yeah, this is very, very difficult, because when we are removing the alcohol with a so-called vacuum distill, the wine is heated a little bit. In the vacuum distill, we are using a very positive effect, because when we have a strong vacuum, the boiling temperature, or the point where the alcohol is getting volatile, gets from normally pressure level is 78 degrees Celsius, and in this machinery we can remove it at a 29 degrees. So, but it's still a little heating, and heating wine is also damaging the aroma structure a little bit. That's why I'm very, very happy that we have at the moment, 4 years ago, we said we have to work with a compromise. And now we are getting very close to the real product. Yeah. So I'm really amazed by the quality that we are producing right now. And for sure, I can promise you, we are getting better each day. So
yeah, I think it's a really fantastic example of alcohol-free wine. I think because it's managed to balance, it's still kept its acidity as well.
Yeah, and you know what? It's also very strange because we are very often confronted with things in life that we don't know actually that there's alcohol inside. So very often I say this Riesling, for example, has an analysis, and the analysis says it has 0.03% alcohol remaining in this product. But the most of the fruit juices have more than 0.5. So
wow,
yes,
I didn't know
really,
that.
yeah, when you have apple juice or orange juice, or even like I think 7-Up can have alcohol, or sometimes chocolate or some cakes, they have alcohol inside. Even dough, for example, is made by fermentation. So there's everywhere alcohol inside. And there's a very nice thing that I found out, and I talk about very often about with it, that a banana, when you buy a banana, for example, and you have it 5 days in your kitchen, the whole banana has more alcohol than 1 bottle of this wine, alcohol-free wine. So this is very strange. So even fruit that you can buy and is getting older a little bit, and you feel it's okay, it's not looking very nice anymore, contains alcohol. So the law here in Germany says, for example, everything below 1.2% alcohol is considered as alcohol-free. So this is confusing, and the most people don't know. So that's actually a threat to the people as well. So that's why we are taking good care of our products. We don't want to have them more alcohol than needed. And for the taste, we have to do sometimes a compromise. But as I said, on this very low level with a 0.03, so almost nothing, it's very close to water.
Yeah.
And and on this very low level of alcohol, we have a very great taste. So this is making the difference. Yeah. So
amazing.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good. It's a really impressive example of alcohol-free wine, genuinely.
Thank you.
And then the Boar Riesling. So.
Yeah, the Boar Riesling is then a very fresh 2019 Riesling. This is labeled with a vintage, and as I said, 2019. I just have to show you 2019 the Boar. This is actually the one that we have shipped a few weeks ago to the UK. And yeah, I hope that you like this wine like I do, because the Riesling that you can see here is a very dry style. So it's not, the alcohol-free was a little sweeter because of the grape juice. This is now very dry for our style of wines. And yeah, I opened the bottle just a few minutes ago. So normally I give the wines a little more air. And when they were bottled let's say 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were bottled. So they need a little time to develop themselves. But I'm totally happy to have this in the glass, because when you see the color of the wine and the aroma structure of this wine, it's very light and in a positive way, like pear and appley. And this is so typical for a Riesling that comes from a cooler region in the Rheingau, but has a very positive effect also of the maturity when it's getting a little bit more let's say older. So maybe in a half year or in a year, we still have a very good Riesling in the bottle. And that's why also with a Boar Riesling, I'm totally happy with the quality, as I said, and the journey that it will start.
Yeah, and also we touched on this briefly earlier on, but much to people's disbelief, where they don't realize that you can age white wine. Even so, this, Grand Cru Rieslings can age for decades, can't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas, but even Riesling at this quality level, you could have this in the bottle for 2-3 years, and it would still be, it would change, but it would still be delicious, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So we especially with the basic and with the entry levels that we have, or which wines which we consider as an entry level, we keep them sometimes longer in our treasury, some bottles, just to follow up with what's going on. And we felt that also the entry levels are developing very, very nice. So I would definitely say that this wine has easily 10 years to go. Yeah. Because it has a very good acidity structure, and this acidity keeps it alive. And sometimes when a Riesling is getting a little bit older, it comes like aroma of quince and I tasted 1999 Riesling from Berg Schlossberg, one of our best vineyard sites, and this has become also like plum. I've never had plum in a Riesling, but it was so delicious for a dry wine. Yeah. And this was really amazing. So it's almost 21 years old. Yeah. So this was very impressive to me. And I don't felt that this bottle has been at the end of its journey. So yeah. So when you have
just out of interest, was it under screw cap or was it under cork?
It was under cork. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
But also, this is a very good question. We are starting also now to bottle the higher qualities also with screw caps. So years ago, we were thinking of, no, we need to have the cork because we want to have a certain development of this wine in the bottles. But we made some trials in 2006 and then again in 2013 just to bottle the normal batch with corks. And then we made a very small quantity of this with screw caps. And the development was almost the same. Sometimes the little fizz or the spritz, the freshness in the wine has been better in the screw cap bottle. Yeah. So we were thinking of two things to change. So with the Grand Crus, for example, we decided to leave them an additional year on the main yeast instead of racking them and bottling them too early. So we wanted to have wines that are really developed wines, and we wanted to have wines for the people that are ready to consume and ready to enjoy. And we don't want to explain that like, oh, you have to take it and leave it like that, leave it another year, because the people, they don't want to wait. You know?
No.
And, so and this was one of the changes we made. And the second change is that we will start bottling the Premier Cru qualities, or even our mid-range, like the so-called Magic Mountain, that we are bottling them with a screw cap. This is very promising. And also for the on-trade, it's very interesting for the people at home when they store this in the fridge. So with a cork, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to when a cork falls out and so on. Yeah. So it's much better to have this sealed with a screw cap.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And then for the final wine for this evening.
Yes, this is then the so-called Kabinett. Yes. It's the Kirchenpfad. Kirchenpfad is a vineyard site that is very close to the so-called monastery of Saint Hildegard. And yeah, the Kirchenpfad is one of my favorites in this category because normally off-dry wines seem to be little strange to me because I don't like the wines with a sugar level more than 30 grams. This wine has around 18 grams, but taste-wise, it's very close to the dry wines. So for me, this wine combines on the one hand side very, very intense fruity aromas. So it's an almost tropical aroma. So Johannes was telling me that when he was the last time in the US, maybe 1.5 years ago, just joking, but he told me that someone said, your Rieslings remind me as a Hawaiian Riesling. So the tropical flavors in the wine are really, really intense.
That's a great description. I like that.
Hawaiian Riesling is a really, really outstanding term for this, what we are having in the class sometimes. So also the Kirchenpfad, the Kabinett that we have right now in the class, it's almost having very tropical hints like the passion fruit or sometimes mango. And this is something that Riesling can also show up with. So I like the way the Riesling is developing, and especially this wine has also the potential to be a very nice food addition. So when we are talking about food, we are very big fans of the sushi styles and so on. So if you have a very nice sashimi or something like that, so a little bit spiciness, ginger fits very well. And so you can have this Riesling very nicely with some grilled fish or sushi in it's very delicious. So
gosh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it is. It is. So even the acidity breaks up when you have something a little bit more creaminess inside, or something like, or the rice, and when you have, let's say, kind of creamy fish or something like this. So, or even with a hammer lobster sauce, for example.
Oh, yummy!
It's so good. Yeah. So I like it a lot. And we do have another wine. It's a little sweeter than this. When I was in Canada, I think 3 years ago, I was in a restaurant and they had mussels, very spicy mussels, and they served one of these wines from our winery. And I said, wow, there's really gentle people here because they are serving the wine from our winery. And I thought they are serving the wine because I'm there at this evening. But I was totally wrong. It was the best wine for the food. So spicy mussels.
Brilliant.
It was also having, they had a blue cheese cream soup with the mussels, and this was fantastic.
Yummy.
And then we had a mango Hawaiian Riesling. And so this was very, very good addition. So I understood then that it's not only just food. So wine and food it's a logical combination. And that's why the Kirchenpfad Kabinett is not only the wine for the terrace, it's also wine for very nice dishes. And actually at the moment,
quite a serious wine, isn't it?
It is. And we're trying to also focus on the acidity here, because we are harvesting this wine a little earlier, so we can cover the sugar level a little bit with the acidity. And you won't taste this 18 or 20 grams because it tastes almost like 10 grams lower.
Yeah,
and this
absolutely.
is fascinating me very often. We do have also a so-called Spätlese that has 80 grams. And due to the fact that the acidity is so intense, the impact of the sweetness is not so huge. So we are having so many possibilities to work on the acidity or on the sweetness.
Yeah. It's really fascinating tasting the different styles next to each other, and it's really nice to just see how sort of diverse Riesling is, because it's not very often that you get to taste the same grape variety in such different styles.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating, and I think it's really great, and it's nice, and it's really positive to hear how much the popularity of Riesling is increasing, because it is. If you speak to anyone in the wine industry and you speak to them about the Riesling grape, and they will go on for ages about how much they love Riesling.
Yeah, I hear this.
One of those things.
I hear this very often, that the people say, "Wow, I love Riesling. It's very my favorite grape." But then sometimes it's unfortunately we have a very complicated wine law here in Germany, and the people are asking, what's a Kabinett, what's a Spätlese, what's a Auslese, what means dry, and so you have so many confusing terms that the people they say, okay, then I go back to my Chardonnay. So there's nothing that confuses me. So this is something that we also started to work on. So we wanted to create very easygoing labels. So for example, I just show you one of our wines because it's standing right here. It's okay for you?
Yeah, go for it.
This is, for example, the so-called 1-2 dry. So
oh, yes.
It's a very easygoing label because everything what is standing on the label is dry Riesling, Rheingau, and Leitz. Okay, 4 things that is important for the people. And I don't want to study label technology or whatever to understand what's inside of the bottle. So even with a Kirchenpfad, we just have here, it's the vintage, it's the name of the vineyard, and then there's also the place where it comes from, Rüdesheimer. And this is everything what is on the front label. So we want to keep this very simple, and that's why I like that we have developed also with you the Boar and the Boar No More. So this gives you an idea. Okay, the people are asking themselves, what is the Boar? But they just try to find out when opening the bottle, and this is super good.
Yeah, it is. Jan, thank you so much for all your time this evening. If there's any questions or anything like that from our customers, I will send them over to you. And And then we can get back to them with all the help.
Definitely. Just let me know. And so
Great.
whenever you need something, you have a question, or you can get back to me, and I will respond as good as I can.
Fantastic. And then hopefully we'll see you back in the UK at one of our tasting events very soon. And then everyone can come chat to you and taste these Rieslings again.
I have to mention it's considered to be my second home. So it is, because it takes me only 2 hours to come back to the UK, and it's always like coming home. The only thing that is quite different is that the cars are running on the other side.
On the other side. Yeah.
No, but it's so good. And since we have been the last time in the UK, it's now for 4 months. And yeah, as I said, we had a great trip through the whole country, and I just made very, very positive experience. I met very good people, and we had such a good time. And so, yeah, my heart is bleeding a little bit because it's just 4 months
to be back here. Well, so you are definitely more than welcome. The first show that we have back here, hopefully next year, probably, I suppose, at this point, and would be very keen to have you back.
Yeah, I will do my best to come. Yeah, so I hope that we won't get any issues anymore caused by the pandemic, and I hope that everyone will stay safe and in good health.
Absolutely.
Say hello to everyone. And,
absolutely. Thank you, Jan, and you too.
Thank you for having me.
Speak
Take care.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.